Hello, I'm Laura, your host for Returning to Our Roots. This is a new podcast, which is all about at this time we find ourselves in, and it's something I'm very much creating as a mother, as we're each making sense of our world. And instead of being distracted maybe so much by this idea of artificial intelligence, tuning into what feels a more an intelligence that has always been there, always will be there. And I'm speaking to a wide variety of people, from historians to activists to astrologists, journalists, politicians, mothers, fathers, grandparents, to speak with them about the ways, both personal and active, that they're making sense of their world, and to look at how we can weave these practices into our everyday, and to look at even also, do they even hold relevance for most of us as parents, as mothers? So today I'm speaking to Azul Thome, and it is a great privilege, and I'm so happy to reconnect with you because we met seemingly randomly in Devon in a cafe
We did many moons ago.
many moons ago, and I saw Azul sitting at a table. Oh, I can't remember if we were at the same table, but we just struck up a conversation, and it was the presence within her that I still feel in you today, just seeing you today, that has stayed with me. And today we're going to be talking about your work specifically with grief and see what else comes. But I wonder if you might start just by telling us a little bit about you so that people listening can just get a sense of you as a person.
Mm. Thank you so much, Laura. And thank you for stepping in this new venture and inviting us to it. I like this gesture of courage, courageous generosity somehow. And courage in French has the word cœur, which is of the heart. So thank you so much. Um, it is precious. I really want to take a little time to thank you. Many of us will not take that step into the unknown and into new beginners or learning things again and learning again and learn. So here I am with you again. I'm in France right now in the mountains. So I'm with them and with the river and the vultures and many wolves and other creatures and kin. So what's alive in me right now is, well, I became a grandmother 10 days ago. That is big for me. His name is Koda, which means friend in Lakota. I am about to start a dream. On Sunday, I start a school I wanted to offer to the world. A school and a sanctuary for the soul called Voyage. And it's beginning. I'm also a new beginner like you. And it's a sort of foundation course for now in English and a class in French. And then next year it will be a 3-year journey for people who want to go deeper. So it's very alive in me, obviously, because it's on equinox that it begins. The rest is, so I was born in Lebanon and I was a war child. And what's happening in Palestine since the 7th of October has captured my life and has shifted everything for me, my attention. And so I am, yeah, I'm breathing this really right now, the war in Lebanon and the genocide in Gaza. And I focus on the book. So I wrote a few books, but one of them is Pathosophy, that is really alive in me right now, which is a proposal, a sort of proposition that our suffering, pathos, can become wisdom and also be of service to the world if we can transform that raw material that is suffering. And there's so much of it right now, so much in so many ways. So the grief I feel and the grief who's entering my body every day is initiating me on another level now of working with pathosophy. And we're going to study that in the school. And so she has three muses: the artist, the alchemist, and the medicine person. So the idea is we take our suffering as raw material and we take it either, or to the three of them, but either to the workshop of the artist or the lab of the alchemist or the garden or the forest or the seaside of the medicine person. And we transform our grief in something that can be there then in service to the world. So it's like any vision quest. It's the gift is never for you. It's for the village to go to be better, to feel better, to be stronger, to learn to be a bit, maybe a little bit more mature. I call soul activism. I say soul activism is when maturing as a species is a radical act of love. You know, there's something there for me, which is, so I work a lot with soul activism, and grief is a big part of it. Unifying rather than dividing is also another, because soul is, that's what, in my understanding, which is that big, it brings things together. It weaves, it unifies, it's like water. Yes, so that's some of the things that are very alive in me and guiding my life. Did I stay on course?
I'm thinking of someone who's listening, and in listening to you, something in their body stirs in recognition of maybe glimmers of what you're saying, or maybe the whole of what you're saying. And yet something also is obstructing them from believing it, from trusting it. How does everyone who comes to you, you speak about the role, heart and courage. Does anyone ever come to you who almost senses that grief might be something that they might want to, maybe just might be beneficial, just from that, but they're frightened. The heart is worried. And how do you work with someone who's listening but unsure?
Okay, so you're asking about the possibility that we might be scared of our own grief. Is that what you mean?
And
Yes,
also everything it asks of us.
it asks everything. That is true. Yeah, yes, thank you. Well, there is something, so I do mentoring, I offer mentoring, and people do come and then they often want to cancel, or they feel like, oh, maybe they made a mistake, or, because there is almost on the soul level a knowing that we're going through an initiation. And an initiation is a death. So it is a small death, but it's still a death. And so every initiation, somehow we leave what's familiar. We know we'll never be the same. And then when we return, often we're alone, and that is another grief, is that there's rarely either we don't know how to set it up, or there is nobody to welcome us and really listen to what happened for us. So we talk about all this. It is a compost heap in some ways. I don't know, I'm trying to make images. Maybe I'll tell you a little story of how I've given my body to something recently. Maybe that would. So the grief that enters my heart and my body, and I have actually difficulty with my heart. Call it adventures with my heart, but my heart is very tired and is telling me so. So the grief about Palestine and Lebanon, my land. One day I could hardly walk. Frankly, I was uh, struck by grief, and I was walking along the river, and I saw a pile of rubble, pile of stones that reminded me of the war, reminded me of Gaza right now, reminded me, and I felt in my body that grief was coming to support me, and I now know the signs. And I gave her time. I gave her space. And I cried in front of that rubble. And I cried and I cried. And after that, what happens if we allow her? She comes with medicine. She's not there to hurt us. And we never drown in our tears. I've run so many grief circles and people get scared of that. I'm going to drown with my tears. I'm never going to stop crying. It comes in waves and it's very fractal, and it has a deep intelligence, deep wisdom, if we allow. So I cried and cried, and then suddenly something is reborn. There is a rebirth, a momentary rebirth. And I looked at this pile of rubble differently. I saw it as a labyrinth. I thought, okay, I am still breathing, I am standing, I have some energy. I'm going to turn this pile of war into a new cartography, somehow, a new map, a new shape. And for 4 days, I carried stones to this place. It was very hot. It was quite demanding of my body, but it was important. And I created a labyrinth that I then invited people to walk in. Very symbolic of walking to the center, placing seeds and walking out. It was vandalized a few days after. Torn apart, I mean, like violently vandalized. Rage came, another different kind of grief, and I allowed her. And I thought, well, temples, like it connected me to our ancestry. Saying, well, temples have always been destroyed. And then a memory of childhood where in Lebanon, in Beirut, when we had bombs and the building were destroyed, and I could hear the people grieving and keening and lamenting, and then it was time to rebuild. It was imprinted in my being at 9 years old that yes, we cry, yes, we howl, yes, we feel, and then we pick up a stone and we rebuild, because that is the most defiant defiant act towards, in front of hate and destruction, going, I actually have faith in life and I'm going to act upon it, not bypassing my feelings. Trusting grief will help our regeneration and our rebirth. And I trust it. I have faith in grief.
And that is everything you've just described is the essence of your activism? Because by the way, is activism even a word you use?
I do. Because I like the being active, being in action. Soul activism is to go to the wounded places and make beauty from it and bring back its dignity and its sacredness and its honoring of life. And we do that inside ourselves also. We have war zones inside ourselves, whether you've known the war or not. I feel that every one of us, more or less, have had some great battles to fight, even just to survive. or to raise our children, or to keep them alive. I mean, goodness, as a mom, what we're not really prepared for that kind of initiation, but we are initiated. That is what soul requires. She will always take us through initiations. Some of them we have the fortune of preparing for them, but most of them we don't really. And so, yeah, it comes to faith and who we talk to when we're on our knees, and all that also.
The way that it seems that you have the intuitive way that you respond to your own grief. For example, this way you're walking along and you see the rocks, and spontaneously you relate with them and interact with them in a way that is devotional and relational and then inclusive. Like you say, you invited others to walk through with you. Yeah. And then the relief, even the vandalism that has, there are women who I've been told to include the men.
Yes.
Men listening.
Hello.
For whom this intuitive way, I mean, this intuitive way of being is makes sense. And there are people listening for whom that's not their way. How, again, I really want to speak, I think, because even as a woman who I think I have my own ways of working with grief, and I have a lot of resistance. So, what gave you the courage to go into your grief?
Frankly, it was a question of life or death for me. If it was such a piling up of uncomposted grief from such an early age that I was incapacitated, I think is the word in English. I wanted to die, and somehow it's interesting. The soul keeps praying even when we're in despair. Somehow my soul brought some people like Joanna Macy along my path, and much later on it was Azul Thome, who is from Burkina Faso. She's died now.
I met her once.
Ah, yes. So I did quite a lot of ceremonies with her and started training with her before she died. And I was on my knees. I came to her saying, I'm not sure I can stay alive. Help me, before I trained. And she laughed. She said, if you commit suicide, she literally said that with her beautiful laugh, with a gap between her teeth. That beautiful, the one, gorgeous. And she said, ha, 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 Azul. If you're going to die now, you're going to have to start everything again. Ha, ha, ha. I think we could do something else. And I'm like, yes, that's why I'm here. And it was 3 days ceremony.
Just you?
No. We were in a group. Yes. And yeah, different people along the way. And then I did my whole master's degree on grief, collective grief. The title was Collective Grief as if Life and Death Really Matter. And another book I wrote is called 9 Passages to Die Alive. So now that's the road I'm walking. It's not so much about dying. It's about, I'm going to die, of course, we all are. But how can I be alive? How can I die really alive? And there's a sentence from Martin Prechtel that comes, and he says, illnesses are fossilized tears.
Fossilized tears.
They are fossilized tears, illnesses. So You know, there's certain thing about my body gets ill and I realize I haven't felt anything for a while. So I'm learning to do it faster and faster and faster because I want to die alive.
And also, Manta, 'cause this is why I love
I
talking.
don't know if I answer your question, but
You are,
no.
and also you wake up something in my own brain because as well, I've really, I know when we spoke the other week, I
Yeah.
really have been reflecting on just more even than the detail of what you were saying, the essence of of you. And it's left me very reflective. And I love you said something to me about Laura. I was asking you a question. I don't live in that reality anymore, or something, or this. And as you're speaking now, that is weaving in again for me, listening to you. This is a woman who's living her, I mean, who's living on a very deep level, and where you are emitting for me, and this, it's a different resonance. And you know that I think that when you speak to the work you're doing with grief, that's the most powerful, I think, that must inspire people. Do you, I mean, that when they come to you, when they're finding you, because we're all looking for that. I, as a woman, am looking for more women like you in my life. You know, we're all starving. You speak about feeling.
Mhm.
You share stories about intuitively relating, and it makes me think of this way we've lost as human beings. That, you know, and
You know, I've got shiver all over my spine because what you're talking about, that requires courage and it costs because I feel it in my life. It's dangerous almost. I'm rereading a book called Dangerous Voices, and it's the woman, yeah, read it. It's the women in Greece who were endangered because they are the one who laments and grieve and
lament.
show the truth. You know, there's something that a young Lebanese woman told me 2 years ago when I was there. She was 20 or something, and she cried, and we held circle of grief there. And she cried and said those words. She said, I had to integrate patriarchy to survive.
Mm,
Oh,
mm.
and my heart just cracked and I cried with her. I'm like, oh, nobody ever said those words so simplified. So the brutality, the violence against ourselves as women, against men. Anyway, it's a big conversation. But there's something about, yes, I live in a deep place, which is what I feel is soul. You know, spirit is quite sparkly and up there, and soul feels more like water and soil and compost, you know, and spirit is air and sun up there. And both is good to kind of be able to breathe both, you know. But that costs. It costs that I'm very alone. However, as far as human family, I'm very alone. But I'm not alone. And that is a threshold to cross for many of us. Very frightening.
I know. Yeah.
To let go, to kind of lose, you know. I used to hold circle black tents for menopausal women going through initiation, because who talks about that? Nobody, you know, as well. It's like we you know, we dance on the edges of madness really through this initiation, and it's a long one, like 7 to 10 years, you know, and there's no guides, like so. And the women in this circle, we started always in pitch dark in this black tent. It's beautiful, like a black yurt. The fear of losing, you know, security, leaving a relationship even though it was so toxic. Are we about being alone is impossible? Yes, it's possible. You know, so to to hold hands with each other, to guide them through. And in a way, I embody that now. I'm this woman of 60 who lives alone, who, I'm not rich, but I'm okay. I'm still part of the privilege, whatever that word is. I'm losing my, yeah, I'm
You're
becoming
not.
a
You're right there.
fashion, but it's because there's so many threads. So I weave as well, literally. I weave ceremonial belts. So I can see all this thread coming. Yeah, it is scary, grief, and the initiation that she promises, that
Mm,
she summons. I developed this thing, this cartography of the 6 gates of initiation through grief. Um, that every gate is whether we lose someone we love, or the earth is really hurting, or our ancestral grief, or that it's, if you see it not as an end, like you said, you're resisting grief. It'd be interesting to know why, if you want to know, if you want to, because you might speak to your listeners. It's like, okay, but this is not the end. That, don't stop there. Don't stop at the first gate of fear.
mm,
Just don't go to panic, but go to a bit of risk.
mm.
What is the risk? Bah, you might feel a lot of vitality. That is what you might feel. It's very surprising. It brings so much vitality.
Yeah, I mean, I want to flag before I forget, there is a question from something you just said. I'm very happy to talk about my own resistance and anyway, but having said that, I'm going to distract ourselves from talking about my grief.
Well done. Very smoothly
I'm
done.
going to weave back to yours.
Very
Um,
talented.
the way you talk about grief makes me think of the divine feminine, makes me think of, sorry if these are clunky terms, I'm not sure, and the vastness that is to be felt in being a human being alive on this planet, in this universe, and that grief seems to be a passageway through from having a more maybe comfy, cozy human experience to really, your word, embodying, I think, something quite vast. And I would always connect, I guess, the divine feminine to the word vast. Does that, does any of that um is that what grief is offering us? Is that your, is that, or is that anything there, or
Okay, so divine feminine, that reminds me of Sophia. So with pathosophy, pathosophy is the pathos is suffering, and Sophia is the divine feminine wisdom. And she teaches me all the time.
mm,
For example, I wanted to get rid of logos, like pathology. I said, yeah, to get to wisdom, I was during COVID when I was writing the book, going, yes, I've got it, I've got it. We move away from logos and we go to Sophia. And I could
just
hear
for
a
people
voice.
listening, just for people, can you explain
Ah,
who and what do you mean by Sophia?
Sophia, I mean, well, I've just said she's the divine wisdom, the divine feminine wisdom. Look, like philosophy. I've invented this word. It seems I haven't seen it anywhere. But it was a way of moving from pathology, pathologizing our pain, our grief, our suffering, medicating it, obviously, because that's where we go. We pathologize. And I thought that was such a lack of imagination and beauty and soul. And so something came. It was like, well, play with pathosophy. Learn from Sophia. Who is she? For us all, not just women. And so she's a goddess, she's a Greek goddess, and she is of wisdom. I'm still learning what wisdom is, frankly. What does it mean? And what I know, yeah, I do know that, is nothing wants to be defined too tightly. it rebels, and or it becomes dogma. Look at all the Bible and the Quran and the blah blah and the goodness, it's creating such horror. I think oral tradition had a big wisdom. Sophia was there for her for that. So learning with her and being an apprentice forever, being that I trust that to be apprentices forever. So you talked about divine. You know, what I see is she calls for other people to join. I can do it on my own now to welcome her, but it is a sad, it's a grief attached to that. And it's scary because to really let grief offer us her gifts and her regenerative energies and the rebirth that follows. It is, I'm hesitant because I don't like the word wild. It's been so abused. It is liberated. Yeah, let me use that word. It is, I was on my fours by the river, howling in the middle of the day, taking risks. I'm in the village. I could be called a witch. I could be locked in. We're still in 25. We still call women who feel fully hysterical or having a psychotic episode, or that's what I mean about pathology and pathosophy. Not underestimate, there's still danger. So, to take responsibility, but also just call a few other people. Do a ritual, it's very simple. There's many rituals that are very, very simple, accessible. You don't need to do 3 months training because we know we've always done that. And we can do that at home. A bowl of water, a few stones around. You just speak of what hurts the heart and place the stone in the water and go around, for example. A very simple, beautiful ritual. With your children, you can do that. Leave that bowl of water with stones in the house as an altar of, wow, when it's too much, just you can go there and give it to the water. And the water can water the tree outside. And
So,
stop.
thank you. That was, and I really wanted those listening to, that is you've just dropped in there a simple, active way that a mother, a family, an everyday person can work with grief. And actually, I was looking at your Instagram last night. I was in Bordeaux airport, flight delayed. I'll look at Azul's Instagram, and I really encourage people to follow you because you were sharing these rituals, what you did with some children and boats. And I'd love you to say, could that, and I actually, it made me want to reach out to a friend, which I'm going to when I see her, and suggest we do something similar. We live in Brighton by the sea, and first time I shaved my head, I took my hair down to the sea and just released it. And I haven't been able to do that. I think that's part of my resistance the second time I've shaved, which is connected to grief, many aspects why I do it. But definitely I can't deny grief as a part of it. But I haven't yet been able to let go of the hair. It remains in a silken bag on my altar. And I think it's part of the resistance. But I'm curious because I have this sense in me, and there are two things just, and I'm open to your sense of where you think it might be best to go. But um, one, I would love you just to share that because so many mothers with our children are just like, I think that thing of whatever's happened in your journey as a mother, whatever's happened in your journey as a parent, stuff has happened that you wish hadn't happened, more or less. We can say, oh, but I've transmuted it. But I think that's a part of what is connected to this grief that I'm resisting.
Mm.
still all that has happened that I need to wail about. I need to do with.
Yes.
And for me, there's, oh, it's not convenient. It's not practical. Come on, I've done this much grief. Why do I need to do more? All of this is going on in my head. Oh, for God's sake, not, all of this. And so I don't. I'm just bobbing. I keep my grief down like this. So I guess
Thank
they're
you.
actually weaving together these two parts. Can we sort of,
Thank you.
can we, with these little rituals you're talking about, can they be little ways that we start, that the nervous system world has that word titrate?
Mm.
Can we
Yeah.
titrate grief?
Oh, you've touched something that I want to pick up, which is when you said, "Oh, I've done enough," and this is it. Is That's what sometimes when I don't want to touch it, or don't want to invite her in, is like if we see it as service to another than me, myself, and I, like a vision quest, that every time we grieve fully, it's a service to the world.
Hmm.
That we are just one thread of a mycelium of 8 billion people and so many other trillions of other kin, that actually you're composted grief fully because it will never end. It's not like a bottle of water or something, a vase that will eventually end.
So,
Because no,
may
it isn't. I can't reassure you on this. It's not going to happen.
sorry to interrupt, because for me, actually, that's
Mm.
an uncomfortable truth that a part of me doesn't actually quite understand that it never ends. I think a
It
part of,
never ends
yeah.
because you're alive. Okay, so maybe I'll give you a little context. So I wrote my first little book. It was called The Four Sisters of the Last Forest on Earth. And I won't tell you the tale, but it was a tale. It's quite a sweet tale, sweet and not sweet. But I'll tell you the four sisters. Maybe you understand. The four sisters are grief, love, death, and rebirth. And the four of them, so I don't put death and life as opposites. The four of them, grief, love, twin sisters, death and rebirth, twin sisters, these are life. You see, that's what I'm proposing, is that this is life. So
Mm.
when you don't want to grieve because you don't have, it's not blah, 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 it's not, all the excuses, and I know them, I'm not judging, I'm not mocking you at all. I'm like, oh my goodness, yes. We can't fully, and I know that, we can't fully welcome the beauty and love fully if we haven't grieved fully. It isn't possible. It's not possible. So that is the high costs of not grieving. And loving with ecstasy. I mean, I love with devotion. Yes, you use the word devotion. It is ecstatic. And it can be within the same hour of howling for the children in Gaza, or having had a tough time with my son, or whatever, well, because I still do. And he's 33. I'm still having tough times with my son
Never ends.
because, yeah, it never stops. And like a river, but do not see her, I could call her, she's like Lady Grief, but the four sisters, they are, they are the guides to live, for me. They accompany us to live a full life.
Mm.
And the small death of being 14, or all the rites of passage that we don't do anymore, sadly. But all that is a little death, and then there's a rebirth, and, the welcoming back. But grief and love,
Will you read us your poem?
yes, I have it there. I took it out. It's a good time to read that. It's called, so I wrote it just before I joined the Global March to Gaza 2 months ago. We went to Egypt. 4,500 of us, to try to walk through the desert to Rafah to break the but to open the gates for the food and medicine to enter Gaza. And I wrote this before leaving. It's called The Elder Speaks. Yeah, moved. I am the Earth Mother. I am older than your maps, your borders, your wars. I held you when you came into being. I will hold you when you forget who you are. There's something stirring now, not only in your cities, not only in Gaza, in Rafah, in the runes and the cries, but in the deep riverbed of soul. Do not underestimate this. You march with your bodies, yes, but you are also marching with your ancestors, with unborn children braided into your breath, with the memory of justice buried beneath centuries of rubble. I feel your heartbreak. I do. Let it break you open, not apart. Let it make you holy, not hollow. The violence you see is not only metal and flame, it is the echo of soul wounds, unhealed, denied, devoured. And if you carry those wounds into the march without tending them, you will feed the same fire you wish to extinguish. You must not become the shadow of your enemy. You must not carry conquest in your mouth while calling for peace. You are not marching to fix. You are not marching to win. You are marching to remember, to become again a people worthy of life. So let your grief be holy. Let your rage be rooted. Let your love be organized, clear, and radiant. March not just to Gaza, march into the center of your own soul. March until you meet me there. And when you do, I will tell you, yes, child, now you are ready. Now you can enter. Now you can plant the seeds of forever. That's the elder who speaks.
I think that for many of us for whom the essence of your poem really speaks to us, it speaks as well. Have you read the book Daughters of Copper Woman? The poem is called The Elder, and that those of us who want to sit, you talk as well about loneliness or being alone. And last week I was talking to an artist about loneliness, Sabrina Rowan Hamilton. And for me, this is part of the grief, that your poem, that speaks to remembering and to being alive. Those of us who are in grief at the way life sort of has moved away from that, not life, but our societies and cultures, and that we would place our elders, women like you, at the heart of our societies and cultures, or screw the society and culture, just everyday life with our children, where we could compost, laugh, howl, sob. So for me, your poem speaks to all of that. I think that is the multi-faceted aspects of the grief so many of us are feeling, where it seems to be like a soul, the need to wail, the need to, I think there is a, because of you, that we want more of you guys in our world, the but to be honest, the good, I have no doubt that if I lived in the 1800s, 1700s, I would have been banished to the side of the, for many reasons. Um, so it's an othering that has happened for many generations.
Yeah, what you say really touched my heart and my own grief of a certain kind of like out of place, out of time. There is a parallel world that is always breathing by my side of comparing exactly what you described. Women of my age now, I would be probably on the edge of the village, more into the forest and a bit in the humans, more like that, but cared for by the village, visited by the children, is so fractured. The fracture is, I feel my bones break. It is so profound. And it's like, well, let's keep feeling this because I don't know what else. And you wake up also something else in me, Laura, is that to become an elder, you need to be claimed. I can't just say, hey, everyone, I'm an elder. It's like, it's when the younger ones claim you. But that means also we have responsibility to stay in the fire with the youth who are so angry right now. They're younger than you, the young ones. But we need to claim what we need. And yeah, that movement of what you've just done now, you've spun a thread of claiming. So you've claimed that for you and in your life and with your children. You have, not that I will be the one, but something will happen. I feel you summoned something. And that's how it works. You need to claim it. So there are old people. I don't know if I'm going to become an elder. Depends who claims me. If I'm never claimed, I will never become, I'll just be old. Be an old person, but no elders. And we see very few elders. And because they don't do the right work or whatever, I'm very judging because I can be. And it's not like that. We need to be claimed. It's your responsibility to claim us to become elders. So it's very alive, doesn't it? Do you feel that, how alive it is?
Yeah, I'm trying to temper my excitement because I really, like, obviously I could, I have a lot of exclamation marks and going off in my brain right now, but I think that it's this, like, is all what you're saying, this, and I really hope people listening, like, which makes me think of the word confidence, because to really trust, like, so first of all, when you're speaking, I imagine, like me, there will be people listening who their bodies are coming alive as we listen to you. The organism is like, yes, yes.
Good.
And then we go out into our lives and we meet that very heady person. Oh, grief, ridiculous, whatever. Oh, whatever. We're British. I'm British. You're not. So we have been stiff upper lip. It's very deep conditioning. Um, and for me, the more and more I have these conversations in my life with friends, new and old, I'm kind of having a beginning of a new confidence to just trust it. Stop looking for approval or confirmation. And like you said, I'm not sure if it was your poem or before, but this remembering that's happening is happening, and one needs to have a greater confidence to just honor the way, like so that we can claim, like you said, and also you said a beautiful word, to claim. It was about invoking or asking for
Summon.
summon. I mean, how who doesn't want to summon? How can we, you know, so as
Mm,
we close, I just wonder if you might so you have invited us to summon our elders into our life.
yes,
And on the
I am.
practical,
We're
just
waiting.
sorry.
We're waiting.
Oh, I was saying, the end of Clarissa Pinkola Estes' book, Women Who Run with Wolves, and that the medicine of howling. I was telling a new friend that the other day, every woman needs to howl. So you have, and as we close, and I'd love you at the end as well to just share practically how can those who want to find you, the school you're offering, I think it opens next year. It's closed now, but the school, can you
Yes.
practically please just, speak to that? But just before, I wonder, how does a person summon? It might seem obvious, but how does a person summon?
There's many. Okay. Such question. It kind of it brings a lot of sparks and threads, and they all like coming. Just want to explain what happens. um, because there's so many layers. Yes, it's a big question for the end of a conversation. It's really a big question. So let me find if I can find the essence. Okay. So you're talking about confidence. I'm talking about faith. Right. Talking about how do we summon? I'm feeling how do we learn to pray? And what, just to let you know about the first session I will do on Sunday for the school, the whole session is about feeding. It's about making offerings. It's about giving what we need. It's all about what we haven't done for generations. We don't feed anything anymore. We want so much. We want. Capitalism has worked very well. We think we are so hungry for so many things, but actually, we need to feed. It's like, whoop, it's like a reorientation total. So I can't answer this question, how to summon, until you know who you pray with, who you're feeding every day. What offerings have you made just today? To step out of the way, literally to step out. Imagine we're just like a mouth to creation, that's all. That like it's a bit rumble because it's such a big question and I want to spend 2 hours talking about it. But I want to sum it up is before answers, we need to regenerate our questions, first of all. There's a big work to do with that. Is how do we regenerate our questions so the questions become offerings also. So everything is offering. Imagine you spend your whole year from now, from equinox 25, autumn to autumn 26, where everything is about you give what you need.
So can I just ask you a question? Because as you're speaking, what is going on in my head? I'm thinking you're talking, it's almost like you're saying, Laura, pause, slow down. Before before you're even getting ready to summon,
Yes,
we have preliminary
yes,
stages. So what you're talking about is preliminary stages.
yes. To, to go back to being human in service to life.
Mm,
That's why we're meant to be here. I don't think we're here. We got so harmed by this system. I
mm,
really feel we have been so harmed and so distorted and so, oh. So it's like capitalism that didn't last that long. We were other beings before that made so much offerings, ritual ceremonies, fed the soul, made art, music, danced, anything that feeds the soul.
mm,
And Anima Mundi, the soul of the earth, is very battered and hasn't been gifted much really for many thousands of years. And so, like imagine if she was your grandmother,
mm.
and yeah, which she is.
But so before you share just before we sign out, I just want to make
Yes,
heard
practicals.
correctly. Yeah, so just make sure I've heard correctly. So we're almost what you're asking of us is that we almost need to reorient. For some reason I can't say any of my words today.
You said very fine.
Our relationship to life before we are truly ready to summon and understand summoning. It is to take the time to reappraise and um, learn to offer back instead of always asking from.
Yes, because like now, your question, which is a courageous question again, because you are a courageous person. But I heard summoning more like uh, extraction, like we need you, we need that. I'm going to go to a supermarket and get an elder, that kind of thing. And we're not. We need to move through this world to another world now. It isn't about this hunger. It really is that this sentence, which I write everywhere in my house, not to forget myself, give what you need.
Yeah.
Give what you need. It's quite alchemical because you don't go into the lack, the emptiness, the oh my God, I haven't got what I need, which I go there. It's like, oh, actually, I'm going to offer flowers to the river every day. I'm going to go and sing to the apple tree and praise her beauty directly, not like she's beautiful, you are beautiful. That kind of listen to bird song because they want to be heard. They don't want to just offer our ears. So it's like, and no more extraction. Even hello, how are you? It is so extractive. It's only this culture that says those things. In Lebanon, we say marhaba, which means welcome. You greet someone, you say marhaba, welcome to your day. You don't say, how are you? How was your day? So what's up? And what you doing? And how are you doing? And I feel like bulldozers, scraping through my bones. I can't do this anymore. I can't. So now I answer, I am like the world. And they go, oh my God. And I'm like, no, that's not true. The world is not just hurting. So why, it's like when I say I feel like the world, I feel like bird songs. I feel like the beautiful river. Oh my goodness, today she was so beautiful. I don't know how the whole thing of the light and the rock, and it was so beautiful. And the genocide. So it's like all of it together. So give what you need. That's what I would say. As a practice for a month to start with, it's really radical. It's radical. As adults, I'm not talking children.
No, I mean, thank you, because it is radical.
Your head is
No, no,
spinning.
it's actually what I'm thinking of is an experience I had in June where I was on a retreat and you know, exactly that. Essentially, a moment happened when I was asking I had a connection that was very powerful. For me, I'm just sort of, I guess, understanding about how other beings, and I'm still understanding my language for it. And so when this connection suddenly happened, my immediate response was, "Ah, great, what can I ask from you?" It's not very enlightened,
No.
but it was my very, sort of great,
Yeah.
awesome. Oh, and the feedback, the response I got was no, basically everything you said. So for me, I really hear the holiness of what you're saying, and it makes me, I'm very geeky. So I'm like, oh, great, I have homework to do. Now the universe has told me this twice, and I can spend the next year doing my preliminary sort of, exactly that to instead of what can I. Thank you so much, Azul, because I think this speaks to actually a bit of where we've gone a bit narcissistic with our wellness in our
Yes,
worlds. What
totally.
do I get? How can I manage? How can
Totally.
I do this? Me. And I'm guilty of that in my life. And I know you're speaking to a deeper truth. And it's uncomfortable and it's a bit annoying because, in terms of for my ego, like, okay,
Yeah. But it's with a lot of compassion, Laura, because I really feel like the brutality of our culture. And as this young woman said, we integrated it all to survive. So
mm,
I am with this real compassion also that your hunger is a conditioning. What can life give you? It's like, no, what can you give to life? Because you can. And I really sense that this is our homecoming as human being. That when we learn to do that, we will understand what human being is like. That our whole life is in service. And I just want to finish. I know we need to finish, but it's like an example. I had a conversation with older people. They're a bit older than me, not much older, but they're retiring. That is a very strange concept already for me. They're retiring from what I don't know. And then they said, now we have a right to travel. And we're going to actually take a cruise on the Mediterranean. I thought, oh, it still exists anyway. And I said to them, look, I need to challenge you a little bit. We've had every comfort. We've taken everything from the earth. We've extracted everything we could from her. We have had comfort and privileges. I think as elders, it's time for responsibility, not rights. And it clarified for me what we're about, whether you are 60, 40, 30, it's the same for all of us now. If we have a bit of privilege, if we have a bit of comfort, it's at the cost of another being, of another river, of another people. Everything, every day is costing something, is costing a being, not just human. So, wow, we will never pay our debts. Never, ever. It's too much. However, we can have a glimpse of what it is to be a true human being. I really know that. I've returned every gold, every gemstone, every silver, everything to the earth. I've returned it to all the rivers and the cracks of the mountains. It was incredible. I could feel my body feeling a little better. So we have loads of rituals to do, and our lives could be just to give, just to keep giving. And the children love doing that. That is something they love doing that. You know, you give them a little gem and you explain the whole thing and you say, let's give it back to the earth. She will be so happy to get it back because we stole it from her and we broke her bones. And really, that would be really beautiful for her to have her jewels back. They get it. They get it. And make boats for Gaza and put it in the river. They get it. Children know everything that's going on. So it's beautiful because it's joyful as well as grief. And so here's the thread. Give what you need.
I'm finding any words I want to say. Not enough.
Practicals.
Not enough. Okay. Thank you.
Oh,
Yeah, I think I don't really need to say anything actually, is what I sensed. I think you've said much what I would like to say. I do feel that there are so many strands that have opened up from the conversation, and I hope maybe in a year, who knows what the time frame is, that maybe we can continue the conversation to
that would be wonderful.
yeah. And just to close, please can you let people know how can they find you?
Yes. Yes. So what's alive at the moment is so what I'm starting on Sunday is the foundation of Voyage, which is a course, kind of a school for the school and sanctuary for the soul, and it's for the regeneration of our souls. And I call on the soul activists and all the creative visionaries that want to participate in birthing the world. We're just invited in this conversation. There's another one opening up in February. The dates will be published on my website in the next few days. And there's one group in French and one group in English. That is the foundation. Then if you feel that the work I'm offering and transmitting from the 4 books I've written and the website, you can find the website, you can go on a 3-year journey after that with me. So it's much deeper and it will go through 26, 27, 28. Exciting to go deep because soul is not fast. She doesn't like fast things. She likes depth and she likes slow. And the world is dying. The world we know is dying, and the new one is birthing. And we could perhaps be doula, kind of soul doula, to welcome her and say goodbye to the old world also, and say thank you. So that's that. I do mentoring one-on-one on Zoom. And I sell books. Some of the books I've written on my site. And this one, The Walk of Sea to Gaza, which I wrote recently. It's in French, in English, and in Arabic in the same book with 5 poems for Gaza. It is a gift now. So if you want a copy, just send me a little word, a little email. And my website, will you put it down somewhere or shall I say it?
Yeah, I'll put it in the show notes.
Okay.
And your Instagram.
That's it for now. Yes. Gratitude.
Yeah, deep, deep appreciation. Thank you very much.
Beautiful. Yeah. Take good care of your little ones and you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I hope to all the people that are listening that it was good food.
Me too. Me too. Thank you.